We turn now to North Carolina, where thousands gathered Saturday in the capital of Raleigh for what organizers are calling, quote, the largest civil rights rally in the South since the Selma to Montgomery March in 1965. This is the 9th mass moral march led by state NAACP President, Reverend Dr. William Barber.
When extremist politicians underfund public education and create anorexic, high-poverty, resegregated schools, and then create anorexic teacher salaries, and then produce anorexic student performance and educational development, we have a heart problem.
Among the national leaders who joined Saturday's march were American Federation of Teachers President Randy Weingarten, Planned Parenthood Federation of America President Cecile Richards. In an emotional address, two brothers whose siblings were killed also spoke side by side. Faris Barakat, the brother of Dia Barakat, one of the 3 Muslim students killed in Chapel Hill last week in what family members call a hate crime, and Pierre Lacy, brother of Lenonette Lacy, an African-American teenager who was found hung to death under suspicious circumstances last year in Bladenboro, North Carolina.
Words can't really describe the pain that the families have to go through, including myself. It's a scar that just runs so deep. You know, it's every night it's an ongoing feeling of just loss and pain and hurt and just misery. And only God can bring you out of that type of misery. And I hope that God is continuing to put his hands on each and every one of y'all lives so that we can understand and see that killings like this does not belong in America. This is not what America stands for. We don't stand for killing ourselves and killing our children. Our children have a future, and we're supposed to stand up and fight for that future, for them to have.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, which means my peace and blessings be upon all of you. A few days ago, my brother, his wife, and my sister-in-law's sister were tragically murdered in my brother's apartment in Chapel Hill. But I can tell you nothing but good has come out of it. As I was walking here, they said freedom is not free. My brother paid with his life. My sister-in-law paid with her life. Razan paid with her life. They paid for their lives because they stood up for something that was demonized in the media, and that's something that maybe we haven't collectively stood up yet to say that Muslims are Americans too. We haven't stood up.
For more on this year's mass moral march to fight moves by Republican lawmakers to attack voting rights, education, the environment, health care, women's rights, we go back to North Carolina, to Raleigh, where we're joined by the Reverend Dr. William Barber, president of the state's chapter of the NAACP. He joins us as lawmakers there are just back in session, and Republicans control both the governorship and both houses of the legislature. Today, the first official Moral Monday protest of the year will include a People's Court to indict them for pursuing policies that have hurt the people of the state. This kicks off a week of week of action. Reverend Barber, welcome back to Democracy Now! How many people do you believe came out this weekend? Very poignant, very powerful people marching against hate.
Well, we know there were tens of thousands. We know that the last year's march and this year's march, last year some estimates were upwards of 80,000 after we had almost a whole year of civil disobedience and constant touring across the state. We had tens of thousands yesterday. Some have said 40. I don't know exactly what the numbers were, but what we do know is that these 2 years represent two things. Number one, a coalition that has stayed together for more than 9 years, which is kind of almost unheard of in civil rights. Number two massive marches that are bigger than it, have represented the biggest marches since Selma in the South, particularly around civil rights, labor rights, and justice issues. And I would add one third thing to that, the diversity in the march and the diversity of young people and old people. We like to say we're black, we're brown, we're white, we're young, we're old, we're gay, we're straight, we're teachers, we're students, we're doctors, we're the uninsured, we're the unemployed, we're labor rights, we're business people, we're Republicans, we're Democrats, we're independents, We are North Carolina, and what we have seen is a state movement actually have national implications. And we believe that is the key for movements today. Deeply based, state government movements that are deeply moral, deeply constitutional, anti-poverty, anti-racist, pro-justice, transformative fusion movements that build from the bottom up. Like Selma was from the bottom up, Birmingham is from the bottom up. This movement is from the bottom up, and it's having an impact not only here in North Carolina, but around the country.
Could you talk about that, Reverend Barber, what some of the impacts of this march and indeed these marches have been, and what you'd like to see more of?
Well, actually, thank you, Amy, that the march, or really it's a combination march and People's Assembly we've been doing for 7 years, and has grown expansively. But it's one component. You know, we have a litigation strategy. We have the first case after Shelby going to trial July 6th, 30 days to the exact date of the signing of the Voting Rights Act. That's critical. We have had more than 200 Moral Monday type events around the state, going into local communities, even in what was so-called quote unquote Republican counties. We tend not to call them Republicans because we believe these persons are not true Republicans. They are Tea Party, Koch brother, Art Pope extremists. They're not Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, Eisenhower Republicans. We have seen the poll numbers shift. For instance, when we started in April 29th with civil disobedience, the governor was at 50% in the polls. Now it's 34% in the polls. The legislature is under 19% in the polls. Most of the issues, unemployment, earned income tax credit, raising taxes to support teacher pay, and a number of other issues, support for public education, are now polling all over 50%. When we started, they were under 40%. Medicaid expansion. We've actually seen the governor now start talking about Medicaid expansion when before he wasn't talking about it. We've seen them now trying to figure out how to fix teacher pay because there's been such a moral and constitutional conscious awakening around those issues.
Reverend Barber, we only have 30 seconds, but I'd hate to end this without referring to Pierre Lacy being there at the march with Dia Barakat's brother. You have called for an independent investigation into the Lennon Lacy, what you call a lynching. Can you very briefly describe it for us, what you believe happened?
Yes, we have called for it. This young man was found almost exact date. Emmett Till was killed. He was found hanging, had the wrong shoes. Our own independent pathologist said there was no way he could have done this to himself. We've called for an independent investigation, and nationally, the NAACP has also said the federal government ought to step in around the case of these 3 young Muslim students that were killed. These hate crimes are serious, and we need to make sure that they are investigated and that justice occurs, and that we say that this kind of hate and violence has no place in our American society.
Reverend Dr. William Barber, we thank you for being with us, President of North Carolina NAACP, author of the book Forward Together, A Moral Message for the Nation. And that does it for our broadcast. If you'd like a copy, go to our website at democracynow.org. Democracy Now! Is produced by Mike Burke, Renee Feld, Sarah Mate, Steve Martinez, Sam Al-Kafani Masood, Ravi Karen, Dina Guzder,